On today's episode of the Relationship Renovation Podcast, we dive into when intimacy takes this negative form in your relationship and it creates a lot of anxiety and tension. Oh, he's snuggling me. He's going to want to have sex. I'm going to just pretend like I'm sleeping. It didn't feel safe. We talk about ways to build safety containers around that.
What are the safety containers for beginning to rebuild?
I mean, it's sitting down and having this conversation around like goals and the vision, because that most partners want to feel connected physically and emotionally. Hello all, and welcome to the Relationship Renovation Podcast. I'm Tarah Kerwin.
And my name is EJ Kerwin.
On today's episode, it's something that's personal for me. I also think a lot of couples struggle with intimacy and just anxiety around intimacy not being enough, being afraid of intimacy. I mean, there's just a whole gamut of what we could talk about there, but I thought that I really wanted to do an episode around creating safety in our own bodies around this topic, so that you have the chance to have a healthy, intimate connection relationship with your partner.
Yeah, I think that, there's a multitude of reasons why couples become physically, intimately disconnected. And we kind of are going to continue to go on that in specificity. This is a strategy that's sort of like, is effective generally in beginning to rebuild intimacy, no matter what is the reason that things kind of went offline.
So there was something you said to me a few weeks ago, like, gosh, honey, whenever I come to you, like even to give you a hug or something, like your body just like has this exaggerated startle response. Like I'll like have this something happens. And I was like, really? Because I feel really safe with you. And it just got me, in my own therapy, I was like really thinking about that. And yes, I have significant sexual trauma in my background. And so what I realized was that like, no matter what for me, like any type of intimacy, sexual, non-sexual affection, like it all feels really scary in my body. That even after 13 years of marriage, we're going to be celebrating that my little body still has this exaggerated startle response. So I've been playing with this for like a couple of weeks now. And then I felt compelled to do this episode because it's actually been working for me. And I've just been really aware of how my body feels and how to be calm in my body, whether I'm next to you, whether you're hugging me. And then it got me thinking, right? Because in a lot of the work we do with couples, we put in safety containers because again, we get couples that come in and almost all of them struggle with intimacy. And there's this tension around it. There's this anxiety, whether it's because we haven't done it in a while, whether it's become a thing and now that's all we argue about. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why people struggle with intimacy. But the one thing I know is that it creates a negative energy. So, when people talk about it, it's like the kind of the elephant in the room, if you will. And we want to let the brain know, like, actually, no, like we're safe to talk about this. But if our body doesn't feel safe to talk about it, there's no way we can have that connection and healing in the way we would want to, progressing our intimate relationship forward.
And as you were explaining all that, you used the word safe a lot, right? And I think oftentimes there's one person in the couple who really struggles and this is, I think, sort of in popular culture as well, where you hear a lot about emotional safety, you hear about safety in a relationship. And I think I've definitely heard individuals within that be like, I don't understand, like safe. Like I've never been physically threatening. I don't curse and yell, so I think it may be important, Tara, for you to sort of like really define that. Like when you're talking about safety in this context, what does that mean?
I am talking about that my body, that my mind, that my nervous system feels safe, that there's no threat coming at me, that there's not a dangerous person in front of me trying to hug me. But any type of touch, even when it was traumatic touch, like my body just holds on to that exaggerated startle response. And so it's about me knowing that I am safe with you, my body knowing I'm safe with you. And this is what, the idea of safety containers are, because again, if intimacy is a struggle, it's created a lot of tension. It's created a lot of narrative. Like my narrative used to be like, oh God, he's snuggling me. He's going to want to have sex. I'm going to just pretend like I'm sleeping. Like it didn't feel safe because my narrative's around it. And now, so I hope this kind of explains it. That was unsafe for me. In my body, I'm like, oh my God, he wants something from me that I don't really want to give right now. I'm just going to like fake it, or I'm going to pretend. Can't tell you how many couples fake and pretend that they're sleeping or that they're sick because they don't want to have to deal with intimacy. It's a narrative that is not safe for us. It's not safe for our partner. So now my narrative is, if you're coming to hug me, I'm open for it. I'm recognizing that like, I might feel tense in this moment, but actually I'm okay because I have this amazing person that I feel safe with who's just trying to give me a hug. The narrative is you're safe and I'm safe. And that does wonders, right, for my body. However, couples come in and they want intimacy to just be solved. Like, we just need to start having sex again, or we just need to be passionate again. And it's like, that's overwhelming to our nervous system. And so the idea of safety containers is, how do we create small pockets of feeling really great with each other and our bodies and our nervous system feeling really calm, with not too many expectations that are going to now hijack that and make it fractured.
Yeah. So you just pointed out that like you've worked with a lot of couples who they come in and they just want a solution to their intimacy problems, right? So what that says is like a lot of them don't realize that one or both of them doesn't feel safe, because the safety goes both ways here on some levels. Because although like I don't have the trauma that you have around, from my past, over the years, the breakdown in our intimacy and you not wanting to be with me in that way, you startling when I walk up to you, created a lack of safety for me on some level too, right? Because it feels like I don't even want to go near that because I'm just going to get rejected, or maybe she'll get mad at me because I'm, I didn't realize this at the time, but maybe she feels bad about herself because she feels like she should be able to connect with me, but she can't. And so I lose a sense of safety too, because it's just like, well, I just won't even go near there because it's just not going to go well.
Absolutely.
So for those couples who this might not even be something in their vocabulary, what are different ways it might look for each of them when there isn't safety?
Well, it could look like I just kind of shared, like, I don't even want to get undressed in my pajamas.
Avoidance.
Avoidance, right? Avoidance. Or your anxiety spiking around bedtime. Like, oh my gosh. Or maybe unconsciously, this would happen a lot. I would always pick a fight before bedtime, because that way you can't expect intimacy if we're fighting. Screw you, man. Like, there would be so many unconscious things at play here. It also might look like checking out with screen or just distracting. And for the partner who might have the higher desire, like just this feeling of frustration and powerlessness and anger and irritability. That's what I saw from you. Judgment.
Yeah, it might look like the partner who feels rejected looking for other ways to sort of like, satisfy those needs, looking it can be really like sort of subtly stuff, like looking at social media of people you're attracted to, or looking at old partners, or, that you're sort of seeking that connection that's not happening with your partner anymore in other places.
I would say this, because, gosh, this could be a 10,000-hour podcast. If you have a narrative that intimacy is not safe to talk about with my partner, or my partner is threatening to me in this area, there's some work to do within your own individual self, because there are relationships where there is not physical safety. Then that's a whole different episode. It's a whole different thing. I'm talking if this intimacy creates so much anxiety that now, right, mirror neurons, both partners feel unsafe, and it's like the elephant in the room and it's making you like feel sick. Like just talking about it, I have this like huge weight in my stomach because I know how many people struggle with this. And then how quickly they just want it to be repaired. And, we have worked with couples, infidelity and substance abuse and lots of hurts and wounds. And they just want these solutions. And I'm like, great, we have those, but listen to this first. You have to create containers. Just think of a container, right? Like a little pickle jar. It's got a lid on it. It's got the pickles. It's got the pickle juice. You take one out and you just put it back on. The lid's good. They're not going to spoil. Sorry if I'm using a pickle jar, but that's what a safety container is, right? And so for couples who are struggling with intimacy, or individuals who are struggling with feeling safe around that topic or in their body, safety containers feel very calming and safe. For example, hey, tonight, right, I had one couple who he was a recovering alcoholic, and she had been so angry at him because there were many hurtful moments in their sex when he had been drinking. And now he had been sober, but they hadn't had sex in the 2 years of his sobriety. And they were like, where do we even start? And I was like, where does it feel comfortable to start? Right? I asked them because, my perception might be different from them. And they were okay with kissing. Okay, what about kissing? Well, then what if the kissing leads to like wanting to do more? I'm like, no, a safety container is this. We're going to kiss for like 5 minutes or whatever. You don't even have to put a time limit on it, but there is no expectation for anything else. We're just kissing. Tonight, we're just going to snuggle, right? There's no sex. There's no foreplay, nothing like that. We're just going to snuggle. Because what happens is the kissing, the snuggling, the hugging, you get to be with that sensation. Does this feel good for me right now, right? Instead of that immediate, like, this isn't going to feel good, or I don't want to do this. It's, does this feel good for me right now? Actually, this does feel good. He or she is holding me, and there's nothing else I have to worry about. I don't have to be like, oh my God, is he going to want to do this? Is she going to want to do this? I'm just like, we've created a safety container that we're just going to hold each other tonight, and we're going to feel what that feels like in our body. I'm going to feel what it's like, EJ, for me to hold you. I love grabbing onto your stomach at night. It's cute and it's just puffy and I love it. And not puffy in a bad way. I love it. And I feel so safe. I'm like, I'm touching his stomach. And I even tell you this, you're like sleeping.
Sometimes I'm sleeping.
And I'm just like, I love this. And it feels so safe in my body. And it just keeps allowing more space for more intimate moments to happen, because now I'm being really patient with it and I'm being very intentional around it. And I'm creating a new story that this person that I am with loves me. He doesn't want to abuse me. He doesn't want to make it bad. But I had to do a lot of work.
Yeah, so that, as I was sitting here listening to all of that, I wanted to like back it way up, and because this is like, it's taken us a while to get there, right?
Yeah.
It's what are the things that we did, that I did, that you did, that got us to the place where we can even consider having safety containers?
Thank you, because it did. It took a while, not like forever, but
no.
You
It
had
was a process.
to, yes, I can't share what your process was, but I knew that I had to let you know that it was really meaningful for me, for you to be patient, that I was already struggling with a loss of libido, total identity confusion after twins, whatever it was. Like, I needed this to be patient. And I think at first it was really hard for you because it was so different. But then for me, you really became patient. There was like this letting go of any expectations, which then allowed me to settle in my own skin, feel my own shame, and be okay with it. Like, I started to feel safe because I could feel those expectations, that judgment letting go. Like, I don't know if actually that happened, but that's what I felt.
No, it absolutely, like, okay, so there's a moment that I remember where like something just like I accepted, we talk a lot about acceptance. Like I accepted, like, you know what? Even if sex is off the table, there is so much that I love about Tarah. Like, and that there was just a moment where I was like, I would never give all of that up for that. And it's just, and I don't know, I don't know how I got there, and I'm thankful I got there. It definitely was a process. I went through my indignance and my wounded egocentric stuff, but I was just like, you know what? Like there is so much of my life with her that I am grateful for, and it is so enriching. And if that's just not there, I can live with that. And it couldn't, because forever I think I got stuck in this place of like, well, when and how and what is she doing, which I could see like it just brought like tons of pressure.
Yeah.
And why would you want to dip your toes into these safety containers we're talking about if like it felt like it was conditional or it was result oriented? And so for me, what's gotten us to this place where I think that feels really positive was just that, like, I love you.
And again, there are listeners probably that do have trauma. There are listeners that don't. Little did I know just like how much my body was responding to that perceived control or expectations, right? So there is another layer in that for our relationship. But even if there's not that trauma there, but there's a piece of anxiety and like negative cloud that has now been over intimacy because we're not having it as much, or my body doesn't look like it used to be, or we don't have that passion. It's not about that. It's starting like, what feels good for me? What feels loving and kind? What feels safe? What feels,
Well, yeah, that was like my next question.
yeah.
And was like, okay, like you talked about some safety containers that might be kind of like far up the line as far as kissing or cuddling, that we know. We talk so much about the fact that emotional intimacy is the foundation for eventually having like adult, mature relationship physical intimacy, which is different than when you first get together with your partner,
Right.
when you're first dating, whatever, right? So what are the safety containers for beginning to rebuild, like we can just be in the same place emotionally together?
I mean, it's sitting down and having this conversation around like goals and the vision, because I'm pretty sure, right, that most partners want to feel connected physically and emotionally, whatever that looks like for them. They're just in such their own story that's not a healthy story that has driven them apart. And they don't even like, there's just a source of confusion and it feels so big. So just recognizing like, wow, because I remember even when my libido was lost or I didn't have that desire like I used to, it wasn't that I didn't ever want to have sex again or be intimate. It was like it just became so negative and like and intense and overwhelming that like I just wanted that to be gone. But now if you move through it with intentionality, like I was like, oh, I just want to be connected to EJ because I really love him and he's being really patient for my process too, so we can figure this out together. It's just being really intentional. Like, again, to me, that is like, if you're in your body and you're aware of your breath and your tension and not letting thoughts that don't serve you during certain conversations come up. And if they do, you get to use your code word and say, listen, I'm getting flooded here. I actually can't be in this space right now, but let's come back to it. You're going to be able to have a healthy conversation around intimacy. It's why even in our intimacy series, it starts off, right, with couples talking about what did they learn about sex early on? What was it like in their household? How did their parents, show affection or not show affection, like just getting that early curiosity. Like, what was that like? Was there shame around it? Because guess what? We're still carrying that around. Was there religious like bans, like you can't do this? Like that's still in our body. I'll never forget when I was watching, I can't remember, it was Gwyneth Paltrow, like the
Sex, Love, and Goop.
Yeah. And they were talking about how when you're in like the gynecologist and the women have to like put their feet up in those straps, like that happens to me. Like I get so much anxiety because when you're in that doctor's office, it's not fun. It actually hurts. Like that, there were times where my body was that tense during sex and I didn't even realize it. Right. So now it's just like you pay attention. Like I want my body to be all calm and open and receptive to what feels pleasurable. It's not even about having some type of crazy, passionate desire. It's like, hey, E, that feels like, actually, I love that touch. Thank you. Or you know what? That doesn't feel good. But that it's open on both ends and you start exploring each other in a way that's very different from what we learned, from what is we see on movies, like Rip Your Clothes Off, freaking Fatal Attraction. Or not that one. I was thinking of the other one with Sharon Stone.
I don't know.
It's a good one. But anyway, so it's like you just start getting curious with each other in a way that feels good for you. Every relationship is different. Everybody has different visions of like how they want their intimate life to be. So.
Well, and coming back to this, the safety container, like I feel like right now you and I are trying to intentionally enter the safety container together, right? But I feel like for a while, and I think a lot of couples are out there will relate to this. Like, it's like we're sort of like unintentionally trying to get into it and then breaking the glass of the container. The pickle jar kept getting broken, because one thing we know is that we have to talk about intimacy. And we tell couples that, like, this has to be something, nobody really does it, but you have to begin to talk about emotional intimacy. You have to talk about physical intimacy. So we would have these conversations. One of us would be brave enough to bring it up. And then oftentimes it wouldn't go well.
It would go south.
It would go bad. There would be blaming. There would be like, I can't believe you're talking about it right now. There would be like, oh, this is making me feel super insecure.
Yes.
But we just kept at it, and sometimes it would be, unfortunately, sometimes it would be 2.5, 3 months before somebody brought it up again. Sometimes we talk about it once a week for a while, but we just kept trying. And then I would discover like, okay, if I can't talk about it before bedtime, that's not the time to bring it up. There would be certain language you would use. I'd be like, honey, when you say that, like, it really makes me feel like bad about myself, or like, it makes me feel really insecure when you say things that way. And so we would
learning each other's language.
Yeah, we learn it. But then finally, I think we've gotten to a place, and then we've also both done our work. We've done our work around it. I've done my work around being more emotionally present. You're doing an amazing amount of work about just realizing the impact that things happen that have affected you deeply. And we've kept trying. And now we're finally at a place where we're intentionally, because you came out of your therapy and you said like, hey, I know we've talked about safety containers before, like in the context of us as therapists, but this is like about me. Like, I want to start finding ways to just be safe with you. And it's literally right now, it's like me touching your arm. It's you trying to like look me in the eyes and accept a hug.
Yeah.
These are the safety containers that we're building. And hopefully the containers stop being small little pickle jars. And eventually they're like little terrariums.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe hopefully.
I don't want it to just stay in the pickle jar, babe. I want it to be big, like a huge like dolphin tank.
Well, I want you to feel safe in the world, right? Because I hope this isn't. Tell me if this is not okay to share.
Well, I don't know what you're going to share. Well, I don't know if it's okay.
Like, you don't feel safe when there's an ambulance.
Yeah.
you know, you don't feel safe sometimes when our kids are home alone, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like that it's not just about the safety. We're building safety together, and hopefully that's helping you feel safe
Yes,
everywhere.
absolutely. And here's the thing too, like if you're kind of listening to this and you're just like, gosh, I don't even know what that would look like, send us an email. We will provide you feedback or an idea for like, hey, this might be a really helpful safety container for this. Because again, every couple is different. We won't even share it on the podcast. We'll just respond to you personally because it is again, with this one couple I'm thinking about when they just started the safety containers of just kissing and then it was just snuggling. I mean, they were able to get back into a healthy, intimate relationship, not one they used to have because that was never good. No one was ever present to this beautiful, open heart, intimate, safe life that feels really good for them. And they are saying they are more connected now than they've ever been. And they've been married for 18 years and that they didn't even know that this was possible. But it was through a lot of work. It was through intentionality and it was through being present with each other and also having to be patient and having to hear difficult things sometimes. But that's us. We're grown up now, so we can do that.
Yeah.
We have a choice. We could say, no, I don't want to do that. That's too much work, which that's kind of our society. Or, you know what? I love this person. I love their heart. I know at one time, like it felt different, but like I'm absolutely invested in this. And so I will do whatever it needs to take.
So just to sort of, you know, wrap it all back up together, I mean, really what we talked about today is that there are ways that relationships get fractured and physical and emotional intimacy begins to feel unsafe. It's untenable. It leads to conflict. It feels deep feelings of loneliness and
Shame too.
shame for sure. And that there's this concept of like finding together safety containers of like, this is like the one thing that we can do this week
Yeah. Or today.
or today that's going to feel safe. Let's go into this place together. Oh yeah, this feels nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we can come back. We can go back into our life and doing this and go into our jobs and all of that. And so, you know, give this a shot. Write us back an email. Let us know what you think of it. How are you, Tara?
I'm good. My stomach's growling with just like responding to all of this, but in a good way.
How was that to open up about that?
I feel very grateful and appreciative and proud. Yeah.
I'm just, you know, continually blown away by just your bravery and just your amazingness. So
Thank you.
thank you for letting me be your
And
partner.
thank you, listeners, for listening.
So please, you know, give us a like, subscribe to our channel. If you're listening, head on over to our YouTube channel and check out all the videos that we have there. If you're on the YouTube channel, you know, come on over to our website and see all the offerings that we have. We're locally and internationally, we're doing our best to just create a really strong community of people dedicated to personal and relationship wellness.
And as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Bye-bye.
Bye.